Friends, when Kohler gave me a call and told me that I have to speak at Pechakucha, I thought about it for a few minutes, and later on I brushed it at the back of my mind because I was to travel out of the country. I said, let me come back and later on think about it. So I came back last Thursday and I casually asked my office girls as to what they think about the topic, beauty is an imperfection. And surprisingly, we all started a small debate in our office. And we all started thinking as to what we should be doing. And at the end of it all, we were totally confused. So we went to God. Now, that's our today's perception of God. We went to God and then we looked for it. We hunted a lot. We looked all through Google. We checked it out. And then it gave me the description of what is perfect. Now it says what you see on the screen, but most important thing is it compares, if you see, she strove to be the perfect wife. And I said, why not the other way around? Why not he strove to be the perfect man? So on and on the debate continued, and then we went back to architecture. And we said we need to go back to architecture and see, and we have the Pantheon. And the Pantheon is one of the best examples of architecture. We've studied it in history, and we compared it to Zaha's beautiful building at Baku. And we were still confused at the end of the thing. I said, what makes perfect architecture? Being architects, we wanted to equate perfection with architecture. And what makes perfect architecture? So we stood confused at the end of it. So here we are imperfect, perfect, I am perfect, and at the end of it, we really didn't know where we stood. So there we were, and we didn't know where to look. So let's say we said, let's go back to architecture again. And we went to an architect, we went to Spain. So we said, let's look at the kind of architecture that happens across the world. And here we have Gaudi, who had a strong dislike for straight lines, same Hundertwasser. They both had a very strong dislike for straight lines and created architecture by emulating nature. And here we have a picture of Hundertwasser, his buildings looked like wedding cakes. So we have a cartoon which says, who says you can't have your cake and eat it too? And then going back, Frank Gehry was there to help us out in our thought process, and we have a cartoon over here of Frank Gehry looking at a piece of paper lying on the street and then coming up with this building. So the whole thing of whether architecture is perfect or imperfect, what should be the thought process, and Daniel Libeskind is always, he loves to have his buildings totally distorted. They thought of distortion probably when they started designing their buildings. And we have a thing which says Daniel Libeskind building collapses, and how the hell did that happen? Because it's already collapsed. So there was no way they could tell. And we have a nice sketch over here of, there's one more architect along with Frank Gehry, Libeskind and Zaha Hadid, who are using the haircuts to describe what it is. So finally we came to a conclusion that probably imperfection is a form of freedom. Unless there is freedom, there is no imperfection, or imperfection means freedom. So it gives you probably a way of expressing yourself, and Picasso is the best example. For all these years, pre-Picasso, if you see, people used to paint perfect buildings, perfect portraits. And Picasso came and he started painting something which was totally distorted. And this is Picasso having his morning tea, cup of coffee, and one more, where Picasso tells somebody that, hey, I told you to be still. So perfection, we kept on thinking about it. And then we started, let's say, we decided to go a bit serious. And we found this thing, I'm not perfect, but parts of me are awesome. And talking of Harnaam Kaur, she has been diagnosed with polycystic syndrome at the age of 12. And she was a woman who grew up with a beard. And she tried to overcome this. She became a model. She became an anti-bullying spokesperson. And this is Winnie Harlow, who has a problem of vitiligo since the age of 4. She overcome her problem and she went on to become a very important model. She's a Canadian model. So we come to this thing which is called happily imperfect. Now, these two poor people were not happy about their situation, but there are people who are totally happily imperfect. So the next slide shows you how somebody can be really happily imperfect. A perfect face, but colors his hair and his beard totally green. So it's totally, he likes to be imperfect. And a pair of jeans which is totally ripped. Now that's an idea of total imperfection. Imagine going to a shop and saying, oh, that's the perfect ripped jeans that I wanted. So that's imperfection for you. Thank you very much.